She used the CEO's private elevator. The entire Reed Industries lobby goes silent. Security pulls up the footage. New hire, first day, stepping into the silver doors marked authorized personnel only. She's getting fired today, this morning. The elevator dings on floor 23. Doors open. Michael Reed, 6'2" of controlled fury, is standing there. They lock eyes. Then the doors close. But nobody knows what Michael saw in that 4-second stare. The scar on her left hand. The same scar he's been searching for since the night someone dragged him from a burning car and disappeared. The same woman who saved his life and destroyed her arm doing it. She doesn't recognize him. He doesn't recognize her. Yet. But when he does, everything, her harassment, the fake fiancé who's been lying to him for years, the woman framing her for theft, all of it explodes. Sandra Drake, new hire, started this morning. This morning, she won't make it to lunch. The elevator dinged on the executive floor. The doors slid open, and there he stood, Michael Reed, 6'2" of controlled fury in a charcoal suit. The man who'd built Reed Industries from rubble into an empire. The man whose stare could make board members stutter. He looked at Sandra. She looked at him. The silence lasted exactly 4 seconds. Then the doors closed. No one breathed. Here's your desk, your workstation from now on. Sandra nodded at the HR assistant, setting down her files carefully. The open plan office stretched before her, a maze of cubicles and suspicious stares. "Welcome to Reed Industries," someone muttered nearby. "Hope you last longer than the last 3. She ignored it. She had to. This job was her lifeline. Medical bills, her mother's medications, the rent that never stopped climbing. One mistake wouldn't define her. Except it already had. By 10 a.m., the entire floor knew. Did you hear? The new girl used the CEO's elevator. On her first day. What kind of idiot? Sandra kept her head down, organizing files, trying to disappear. But Donna Brooks, the director of operations, had other plans. Sandra Drake. Donna's heels clicked like a countdown. Conference room B, now. The room was glass-walled. Everyone could see inside. That was the point. This report is utter garbage, Donna snapped, throwing a folder onto the table. Did you even read the guidelines? Or were you too busy joyriding in executive elevators? I didn't joyride. Silence. You've embarrassed this department on day 1. Donna leaned in, voice dropping to a venomous whisper. I don't know whose strings you pulled to get hired, but here's the reality. I don't want you here, and neither does anyone else. Sandra's jaw tightened. If you have an issue with my work, give me specific feedback, but I didn't pull any strings. Then explain the elevator. It was an accident. My hand was injured, the files were heavy, and the other lifts were excuses. Donna smiled coldly. You know what's funny? That wasn't your only violation today. Sandra froze. Before we dive deeper, if this message already moves your spirit, don't just scroll, subscribe, and be part of our family of believers in love and grace. And let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. Security reviewed the footage. After you got off on the executive floor, where you had no clearance, you walked into the CEO's personal office. What? No, I was told to deliver. You entered a restricted area without authorization. And according to the log, you even sat in his chair. I didn't sit. Enough. Donna turned to the glass wall, where a small crowd had gathered. Let this be a lesson to everyone. Reed Industries has rules for a reason. When you break them, there are consequences. She pressed the intercom button. Security, please escort Ms. Drake to the lobby. She's terminated effective immediately. The room erupted in whispers. Wow, same-day firing. Brutal. Well, she did use the CEO's elevator and barged into his office. Even board members can't use that elevator. She's got guts. I'll give her that. Sandra stood slowly, her injured hand trembling. She wouldn't cry, not here, not in front of them. But then the door opened. Ms. Brooks, Samuel Young, the CEO's assistant, stepped inside, his expression unreadable. Mr. Reed would like to see you, immediately. Donna's confidence flickered. I'm in the middle of immediately. 3 minutes later, Donna returned. Her face was pale. Ms. Drake, she said quietly, not meeting Sandra's eyes. There's been a misunderstanding. Mr. Reed has reviewed your case personally. You are not being terminated. The crowd gasped. Wait, what? He's letting her stay? After 2 violations? Anyone else would have been escorted out in handcuffs. Why would the CEO defend a nobody? Sandra stood frozen, confused and humiliated in equal measure. Donna forced a smile that looked like it hurt. You're very lucky, Miss Drake. Mr. Reed believes you didn't know the rules. You're being given a second chance. Don't waste it. She left without another word. The whispers exploded. This makes no sense. The CEO never shows mercy. There's got to be more to this. Private Diane CYO's office, 6:47 p.m. Michael Reed stood at the window watching the city lights flicker to life. Samuel placed a file on his desk. The investigation is complete, sir. Sandra Drake, 24 years old, graduated top of her class, applied through the standard hiring process. No connections, no favors. And the injury? Samuel hesitated. 5 years ago, car accident. She pulled someone from a burning vehicle before it exploded, sustained severe nerve and bone damage to her left arm. The other party left the scene before paramedics arrived. No contact since. Michael's hand tightened on the window frame. Her eyes, he murmured, the scar on her hand. Samuel, could she be the one? We're running DNA from the hospital records, but sir, the timeline matches, the location matches, and the injury. Get me confirmation. I need to be certain. Understood. And sir, Ms. Monroe called again. She's asking about the gala next week. Michael's expression darkened. Tell Chloe I'm busy. Samuel nodded and left. Alone, Michael pulled out a worn photograph from his desk drawer. A blurry image taken by a bystander 5 years ago. A car engulfed in flames and a young woman pulling an unconscious man to safety. Her arm twisted at an unnatural angle. He'd searched for her for years. And today, she walked into his elevator. Sandra Drake, he whispered. After all this time. Was it you? 2 weeks later in the afternoon, the workplace abuse didn't stop. If anything, it intensified. Said Sandra, these boxes need to go to storage room 4. Now. Donna stood over her desk, arms crossed. Behind her, Chloe Monroe, the CEO's so-called fiancée, watched with barely concealed satisfaction. Donna, those boxes weigh at least 40 pounds each, and you have 2 hands, don't you? Or is one of them just decorative? Laughter rippled through the nearby cubicles. Sandra stood, ignoring the pain shooting through her arm. She wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing her break. She lifted the first box. Her hands screamed in protest, then the second. By the third, her vision blurred. Having trouble? Chloe's voice dripped with false concern. Maybe you're not cut out for this job after all. I'm fine. Are you? Because from where I'm standing, you look like you're about to. That's enough. The voice was cold, controlled, deadly. Every head turned. Michael Reed stood 10 feet away, briefcase in hand, eyes locked on Donna. Mr. Reed, You were just what? Assigning tasks that violate workplace safety protocols? Or were you deliberately targeting an employee with a documented medical accommodation? Donna went pale. Michael stepped closer. Ms. Brooks, are your arms broken? Your legs crippled? No, sir, Then why are you forcing an injured employee to carry loads you're perfectly capable of moving yourself? The office was silent. I want those boxes moved to storage room 4. By you, personally, all 16 of them. And when you're done, you'll write a formal apology to Ms. Drake. He turned to Chloe. And you, Ms. Monroe. My office, now. Chloe's confidence evaporated. Michael, I was only, now. They scattered like roaches. Michael turned to Sandra. Are you all right? She nodded, not trusting her voice. Good. His eyes lingered on her injured hand. You shouldn't have to endure this. Not here. Not anywhere. I can handle it. I know you can. Something flickered in his gaze. Recognition. Regret. Something deeper. But you shouldn't have to. He walked away, leaving Sandra standing in stunned silence. The whispers erupted immediately. Did the CEO just defend her? Again? He made Donna move boxes. Donna. And did you see how he looked at her? This is getting weird. Maybe she is someone special. That evening, parking lot, 8:42 p.m. Rain hammered the pavement. Sandra stood under the building's narrow awning, watching taxis fly past, all occupied. Her phone showed no available rideshares. The last bus had left 20 minutes ago. Perfect. The sound of an engine made her look up. A black Mercedes pulled to a stop directly in front of her. The passenger window rolled down. Michael Reed looked at her through the rain. Get in. I'm fine, thank you. You're standing in a storm with no ride home. The next bus comes in an hour. It's 43 minutes, actually, and that bus doesn't run past 7th Avenue after 9. He pushed the door open. Get in, Ms. Drake. I won't ask again. Something in his tone made it clear this wasn't a request. Sandra slid into the passenger seat, water dripping from her coat. They drove in silence for several blocks. The city blurred past, neon signs reflecting off wet streets. Then Michael spoke. Your hand, how did it happen? Sandra stiffened. An accident. What kind of accident? Does it matter? It matters to me. She turned to look at him. His jaw was set, eyes fixed on the road, but his knuckles were white on the steering wheel. 5 years ago, she said quietly, there was a car crash. Someone was trapped inside. The car was on fire. I pulled him out. Michael's breath caught. And he disappeared. Her voice was flat, emotionless. No, thank you. No hospital visit. Nothing. Just gone. Left me with a crushed arm and a medical bill I'm still paying off. The car slowed at a red light. Michael didn't look at her. Couldn't. Why did you do it? He asked, voice barely above a whisper. Why risk your life for a stranger? Sandra shrugged. Because no one else would. The light turned green. They drove the rest of the way in silence. Transition to backstory. But Sandra Drake hadn't always been the quiet, guarded woman who avoided elevators and kept her head down. Once she'd been different. Braver. Unbroken. Before the fire. Before the pain. Before the man who disappeared. Before Reed Industries became her last chance at rebuilding a life that had crumbled the moment she decided to be a hero. The next morning in Reed Industries, 8:47 a.m., Sandra arrived early, hoping to avoid the stairs. She failed. The moment she stepped off the elevator, the regular one, not the forbidden silver tunge, conversations stopped mid-sentence. Heads turned, eyes followed. That's her. The elevator girl. Can't believe she's still here. She walked to her desk, each step feeling like a march through hostile territory. Someone had left a printed, signed tape to her monitor. Private lift. Authorized personnel only. Below it, a crude drawing of a stick figure being thrown out a window. Sandra tore it down and shoved it in the trash. Oh good, you found our little gift. Chloe Monroe leaned against the cubicle wall, perfectly manicured nails tapping against her coffee cup. Behind her, Donna Brooks wore a smile that could cut glass. We were worried you might have gotten lost again, Chloe continued. Accidentally wandered into another restricted area. Michael's penthouse, perhaps? His car? His bed? Laughter erupted from nearby desks. Sandra kept her eyes on her computer screen. I have work to do. Work? Donna stepped closer. Sweetie, the only work you need to focus on is updating your resume. Because no matter what little mercy the CEO showed you yesterday, this company has a way of correcting mistakes. I'm not a mistake. No, Chloe's voice dropped to a venomous whisper. Then explain why you're still here, because it certainly isn't your qualifications. Maybe it's her other talents, someone muttered from across the aisle. More laughter. Sandra's hand tightened on her mouse. The pain shot up her arm, sharp, familiar grounding. Ladies, a junior analyst named Marcus appeared, holding a stack of folders. Director Brooks, these quarterly reports need your signature. Donna waved him off. Later. But I said later, Marcus. She didn't take her eyes off Sandra. Some things are more important than paperwork. Like making sure everyone understands the rules here. I understand the rules. Do you? Donna leaned in. Then understand this. You're only here because Michael Reed is too busy to deal with you personally. But the moment he forgets about you, and he will, you're gone. So enjoy your temporary reprieve. It won't last. They walked away, heels clicking in perfect sync. Sandra exhaled slowly, counting to 10, then 20. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Elevator slut. She blocked it. Another buzzed immediately after. How long before you spread your legs for the CEO too? She turned off her phone. Lunch break, stairwell, 12:34 p.m. Sandra found the quietest corner of the building, a forgotten stairwell between floors 9 and 10, and finally turned her phone back on. 17 new messages, all variations of the same venom. She deleted them without reading and dialed the only number that mattered. 3 rings, then a familiar, gentle voice. Sandra? Sweetheart, are you all right? The tension in Sandra's shoulders loosened slightly. Hi, Mom. Yeah, I'm fine. Just wanted to check in. Did you take your medication this morning? Of course I did. Stop worrying about me. Mary Drake's voice was warm but tired. How's the new job? Are they treating you well? Sandra looked at her phone screen, still showing the blocked messages. It's great, Mom. Really great. Everyone's been welcoming. Sandra. Mom, I know that voice. You're lying. Sandra closed her eyes. It's just first week jitters. You know how it is. New place, new people. And your hand? Not too much strain? It's fine. I'm being careful. A pause, then softer. You don't have to do this, you know. We can figure something else out. I can go back to work part-time. No, Sandra's voice was firm. Mom, you're still recovering. The doctor said at least 6 more months before. I don't want you suffering for my sake. I'm not suffering. I promise, this job is good, it pays well, and it's exactly where I need to be. Another lie, but a necessary one. Mary sighed. All right, but Sandra, if it gets too hard, if they treat you badly, you walk away. Do you hear me? No job is worth your dignity. I hear you, Mom. Good, now go eat something. You sound exhausted. I will, love you. Love you too, sweetheart. Sandra ended the call and sat in the silence, staring at the concrete walls. No job is worth your dignity, if only it were that simple. Executive floor, CEO's office, 1:15 p.m. Michael Reed stood at his window watching the city below. His reflection stared back, sharp suit, sharper eyes, and an expression that revealed nothing. Behind him, Samuel Young closed the office door. The background check is complete, sir. Michael didn't turn. And? Sandra Drake, born and raised in the city, father deceased when she was 7, construction accident. Mother Mary Drake worked as a nurse until last year, stage 3 illness, currently in remission but requires ongoing treatment. The injury? Samuel opened a tablet, scrolling through documents. 5 years ago, June 19th, car accident on Highway 47 near the old industrial district. A vehicle, he paused, meeting Michael's eyes. A black Audi A8 went off the road and caught fire. Witness reports indicate a young woman pulled the driver from the wreckage approximately 40 seconds before the fuel tank exploded. Michael's jaw tightened. The driver? Left the scene before paramedics arrived. No identification. The woman, Sandra Drake, sustained severe trauma to her left arm, nerve damage, fractured radius and ulna, permanent structural compromise. Samuel hesitated. Sir, the date, the location, the vehicle description. It all matches your accident. The room felt smaller suddenly. Michael turned, his voice barely above a whisper. Get me the hospital records, everything. I need to be certain. Already requested. They'll arrive by end of day. And the surveillance footage from yesterday? The elevator? Samuel pulled it up on the large monitor. The video played in silence. Sandra stepping into the elevator, arms full, her injured hand gripping the files awkwardly. The way she winced, the slight tremor as the doors closed. Michael moved closer to the screen. Pause it. There. The image froze. Sandra's left hand visible, the scar running from her wrist to mid-forearm, a jagged line of old trauma. Michael reached out, his fingers hovering over the screen. I remember, he said softly. I remember opening my eyes. Smoke everywhere, fire. And then, hands, her hands, pulling me. I tried to hold on, but he stopped, his hand dropping. Sir? When I woke up in the hospital, they said someone saved me, a bystander. But by the time I was conscious enough to ask questions, she was gone. The police couldn't find her. No name, no contact. Michael's voice hardened. I've spent 5 years searching, Samuel. 5 years. And she walks into my elevator like it's nothing. Perhaps she doesn't recognize you. Or perhaps she does and wants nothing to do with the man who ruined her life. Samuel frowned. Sir, you didn't. I left her there. Michael's reflection stared back at him, accusing. I was unconscious, taken away in an ambulance, and she was left bleeding on the pavement with no one to thank her, no one to help her. I owe her everything, and she got nothing but pain. You didn't know. That doesn't make it right. Michael looked at the frozen image again. Sandra's face, caught in a moment of uncertainty as the elevator doors began to close. Find out everything, he said. Her debts, her mother's medical bills, every expense she's struggling with. I want a full picture. And then I'll repay the debt I should have paid 5 years ago. He reached for the tablet, his thumb hovering over the scarred hand in the image. Her scar, he murmured. It can't be a coincidence. No, sir, Samuel agreed quietly. I don't believe it is. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the office floor. Below, Sandra returned to her desk, unaware that 23 floors above her, the man she'd once saved was planning to turn her world upside down. Again, 3 days later. Office floor, 2:47 p.m. The afternoon heat made the office unbearable. The ancient air conditioning system wheezed and rattled, pushing warm air through the vents instead of cold. Sandra. Mr. Daniels stood over her desk, arms crossed. He was a middle manager with a receding hairline and an inflated sense of authority, the kind of man who compensated for his own insignificance by making others feel smaller. Oh, yes, Mr. Daniels? Conference room C needs water. The cooler's empty. Sandra looked up. I can call facilities. I didn't ask you to call facilities. I asked you to handle it. He gestured toward the supply closet. There are 12 bottles in storage. Room C now. Mr. Daniels, those bottles are 5 gallons each. My hand... Your hand? His voice rose, drawing attention from nearby cubicles. Your hand wasn't too injured to use the CEO's elevator, was it? If you can break company rules, you can certainly carry some water. Scattered laughter rippled through the office. Sandra stood slowly. That's not the same thing. Isn't it? Daniels leaned in. See, here's what I think. I think you're milking this injury for sympathy, playing the victim. Well, not on my watch. You want special treatment? Earn it. Otherwise, do your job like everyone else. Her face burned. I'm not asking for special treatment. Then prove it. 12 bottles. Conference room C. You have 20 minutes. He walked away, leaving Sandra standing in the center of the office, every eye on her. Marcus, the junior analyst, rolled his chair over. Sandra, I can help. Don't! Donna's voice cut through the air. If Mr. Daniels gave her a task, she completes it. That's how we learn responsibility here. Marcus retreated. Sandra walked to the supply closet. Inside, 12 massive water jugs lined the bottom shelf, each one a small monument to her humiliation. She crouched down and lifted the first one. Pain exploded through her arm immediately, white-hot and vicious. Her hand trembled, barely maintaining grip. She made it 3 steps before her fingers slipped. The bottle crashed to the floor, water gushing everywhere. Oh my God, she dropped it. Can't even carry water. Maybe she really is useless. Clean that up, Daniels barked. And get another one. The clock's ticking. Sandra grabbed towels, soaking up the water, her vision blurring. Not from tears. She wouldn't give them that satisfaction. She lifted the second bottle. Heavier this time, or maybe her arm was just weaker. She made it halfway across the office before her hand seized up completely. Come on, Sandra, someone called out. We're thirsty. Laughter, she pushed through the pain, step by agonizing step. The conference room felt miles away. Mr. Daniels. The voice was ice. Every sound in the office died instantly. Michael Reed stood 10 feet away, briefcase in hand, his expression carved from stone. Mr. Reed. Daniels straightened immediately. I didn't realize you were on this floor. Clearly. Michael's eyes moved to Sandra, struggling with the water jug, then back to Daniels. What's happening here? Just delegating tasks, sir. Standard operations. Standard operations. Michael set down his briefcase. And tell me, Mr. Daniels, are your arms broken? I'm sorry? Your arms. Are they broken? Daniels blinked. No, sir, of course not. Your legs? Crippled? No. Then why, Michael's voice dropped to something dangerous, is an employee with a documented medical condition carrying 5-gallon water jugs while you stand there watching? The office was a tomb. Sir, you were simply exploiting a subordinate's injury for your own amusement. Michael walked forward slowly. Ms. Drake has a nerve damage condition in her left arm, which you are aware of because it's in her file, a file you have access to, and yet you assigned her a task that directly aggravates that injury. I didn't think. No, you didn't. Michael turned to Sandra. Put it down. She set the jug down gratefully, cradling her throbbing hand. Michael looked back at Daniels. You want water in conference room C? Sir, I can have someone else. No, you'll do it yourself, all 12 bottles. And when you're finished, you'll deliver a written apology to Ms. Drake, explaining why exploiting employees with disabilities violates both company policy and basic human decency. Daniels went pale. Mr. Reed, surely we can, or you can clear out your desk, your choice. The silence stretched. Then Daniels moved toward the supply closet, shoulders slumped. Michael turned to the rest of the office. Let me be absolutely clear. Reed Industries does not tolerate workplace harassment. If I hear of anyone, and I mean anyone, targeting Ms. Drake again, you're terminated, effective immediately. No appeals, no second chances. He looked at Sandra. Are you all right? She nodded, not trusting her voice. Good. Something flickered in his expression. Concern maybe, or something deeper. Take the rest of the afternoon. That's not a request. He picked up his briefcase and walked away, leaving behind an office full of stunned faces. Executive floor, 3:15 p.m. You defended her again. Chloe Monroe stood in Michael's office doorway, arms crossed, fury radiating from every pore. Michael didn't look up from his documents. I defended an employee from harassment. No, she stepped inside, closing the door. You humiliated a middle manager in front of the entire office. For her again. Mr. Daniels humiliated himself. This is favoritism, Michael. Everyone sees it. Then everyone needs better eyesight. Do they? Chloe's voice shook. Because from where I'm standing, you've intervened on her behalf 3 times in 1 week. 3 times. You've never done that for anyone. Michael set down his pen, finally meeting her eyes. What exactly are you accusing me of, Chloe? I'm not accusing, I'm observing. She moved closer. You barely speak to me anymore. You cancel our dinners, you avoid the penthouse when I'm there, but some random intern breaks the rules. And suddenly you're her knight in shining armor? She's not random. The words slipped out before he could stop them. Chloe froze. What? Michael's jaw tightened. She's an employee who deserves the same respect as everyone else. That's all. That's not all. Chloe's eyes narrowed. There's something about her, something you're not telling me. This conversation is over. Michael, I said it's over. Chloe stood there for another moment, fury and something else, fear warring in her expression. Then she turned and left, the door clicking shut with deliberate softness. Michael exhaled slowly, staring at the spot where she'd stood. He pulled out his phone and texted Samuel. Send it. Sandra's desk, 5:43 p.m. The office was nearly empty when Sandra returned to gather her things. Most people had fled the moment the clock struck 5, eager to escape the day's drama. She opened her desk drawer to grab her keys and froze. A small envelope sat on top of her keyboard. Cream-colored, expensive paper. No name at the bottom. She glanced around. The floor was deserted. Carefully, she opened it. Inside, a handwritten note on Reed Industries' letterhead. Ms. Drake, strength is not measured by what you can carry, but by what you refuse to put down. Your resilience is remarkable. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. A colleague who notices Sandra read it twice, then 3 times. The handwriting was elegant, precise. Definitely not Donna's aggressive scrawl or Chloe's looping script. She looked up at the ceiling, toward the executive floors above. "What damn?" she whispered to the empty office. Why would the most feared man in the company defend her? Why intervene when no one else would? Why leave anonymous notes of encouragement? She folded the note carefully and tucked it into her bag. Outside the window, the city lights flickered to life. Somewhere above, Michael Reed stood at his own window, watching the same skyline, wondering if she'd found his message. And if she did, whether she'd understand what he couldn't yet say. "I'm sorry for everything, for leaving you, for not being there when you needed help. But I'm here now, and I'm not leaving again." Michael's penthouse, 2:30 a.m. Sleep was a stranger. Michael stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse, whiskey glass in hand, watching the city breathe below. Insomnia had been his companion for 5 years, ever since the night he should have died. Behind him, the massive bedroom remained untouched. What was the point? He never made it past the couch most nights. He closed his eyes and the memory came flooding back. It always did. 5 years ago, Highway 47, 11:47 p.m. Rain hammered the windshield. The Audi's wipers worked frantically, barely keeping up. Michael had been driving back from a late investor meeting, exhausted, distracted by numbers and projections. He never saw the oil slick. The car hydroplaned, spun. The guardrail came up too fast, impact, metal screaming, the sickening crunch of the vehicle folding around him. Then heat, intense, wrong, growing. Fire. He couldn't move. Something had his leg pinned. Smoke filled the cabin, choking, burning. This is how I die, he remembered thinking. Alone on an empty highway. Then hands, small hands pulling at his door. A woman's voice, urgent, strained. "Hold on. Just hold on." The door wouldn't open. Jammed. She disappeared from view. Moments later, his passenger window shattered. Glass rained down. Through the smoke, he saw her. Young, maybe early 20s, her face streaked with rain and determination. "Give me your hand!" He reached. She grabbed his arm and pulled with surprising strength. The pain was excruciating, but she didn't stop. Pulled harder. His leg came free with a sickening wrench. She dragged him through the window, across broken glass, away from the car. His vision blurred. He saw her face above his, dark eyes, full of fierce concentration. "Stay awake," she commanded. "You hear me? Stay awake." Behind her, the car erupted. Flames shot into the night sky. He tried to focus on her face, to memorize it, to thank her. But darkness took him. When he woke 3 days later in the hospital, she was gone. "The woman who saved me," he'd asked the police officer. "Where is she?" "No one knows, Mr. Reed. She left before the ambulance arrived. Witnesses said she was injured. Her arm looked broken. But she refused help and disappeared." "Find her." "We're trying, sir, but she didn't leave a name. No ID, nothing." He'd spent months searching. Private investigators, media appeals, nothing. Until Chloe appeared. Present, 2:41 a.m. Michael opened his eyes, jaw tight. Chloe had shown up 8 months after the accident. Nervous, hesitant, holding medical records. "Mr. Reed, I don't know if you remember me, but I'm the one who pulled you from that car." The records looked authentic. Hospital admission from that night. Treatment for severe arm trauma. The dates matched. The location matched. "Why didn't you come forward sooner?" he'd asked. "I was scared. And honestly, I didn't think you'd want to be reminded of that night. But I couldn't stay away anymore." He'd believed her, welcomed her into his life, his home, given her everything she asked for, because he owed her everything. Except something had never felt right. The way she avoided specific details, how her story changed slightly each time, the scar on her arm that looked too clean, too surgical. And now Sandra Drake, with a scar that looked like it had been earned through fire and broken glass. His phone buzzed, a text from Samuel. "Found something, need to show you." Michael grabbed his jacket. "Reed Industries, CEO's office, 7:15 a.m. Samuel spread documents across the conference table. dark circles under his eyes suggesting he'd pulled an all-nighter. Sir, I re-examined Chloe Monroe's hospital records. The ones she provided 5 years ago. And they're forgeries, excellent forgeries, but forgeries nonetheless. Samuel pulled up a scanned image. Look at the admission timestamp. It's off by 3 minutes compared to the hospital's internal system logs. Someone altered the records after the fact. Michael's hands tightened into fists. The injury documentation also doesn't match trauma from a car rescue, Samuel continued. According to the attending physician's notes, the real ones I obtained, her injury was consistent with a surgical procedure, not an accident. Specifically, an ulnar nerve decompression surgery performed 6 months before the date she claims she saved you. She lied. Extensively. I also found financial records. 2 weeks before she approached you, Chloe received a payment of $50,000 from an offshore account. The transaction memo reads, consultation fee. Michael's voice was deadly quiet. Someone paid her to pretend to be my savior. It appears so. I'm tracking the account source now. And Sandra Drake? Samuel pulled up another file. Her hospital admission matches perfectly. June 19th, 11:52 p.m. Severe crush injury to left and forearm. Nerve damage. Multiple fractures. The attending physician's notes describe the injury as consistent with dragging a heavy weight or a person across broken glass and debris. He displayed a photograph from the emergency room records. Sandra's arm, twisted and bleeding, covered in lacerations. Michael looked away, bile rising in his throat. There's more, Samuel said softly. A witness from that night gave a statement I found buried in the police files. He described seeing a young woman pull a man from a burning vehicle and then collapse from pain. When he approached to help, she refused and walked away, despite having what he called a clearly broken arm. Did he describe her? Dark hair, early 20s, determined. Those were his exact words. Most determined person I've ever seen. Michael stared at Sandra's hospital photo, the same determination evident even through pain. It was her, he whispered. It was always her. Later that day, conference room A, 3:22 p.m. The presentation was going poorly. Richard Cole, a notoriously difficult investor, sat at the head of the table with his arms crossed, unimpressed by the quarterly projections. These numbers don't account for market volatility, he said flatly. You're asking me to invest $20 million based on optimistic assumptions. Michael's lead analyst fumbled. Mr. Cole, your models are incomplete. Actually, a quiet voice interrupted, they're not. Everyone turned. Sandra stood near the back of the room, tablet in hand. She'd been asked to take notes. Nothing more. Speaking up wasn't her job. Ms. Drake, the analyst began. The volatility you're concerned about, Sandra continued, meeting Richard's eyes, is already factored in. Page 17, subsection C. The sensitivity analysis runs 3 scenarios. Best case, worst case, and what we call black swan events. Catastrophic market shifts. Richard raised an eyebrow. And, even in the worst case scenario, ROI remains positive at 7.3% over 3 years. That's conservative compared to current Treasury yields and significantly safer than most equity positions. She tapped her tablet, and a detailed breakdown appeared on the screen. Additionally, the diversification strategy on page 22 hedges against sector-specific risks. If tech crashes, healthcare, and infrastructure investments offset losses, it's not optimistic, Mr. Cole. It's mathematically sound. The room was silent. Richard Cole leaned back, studying Sandra with new interest. You did this analysis? I verified it, sir. Found a few calculation errors, actually, which have been corrected. Impressive. He looked at Michael. Your people usually aren't this thorough. Ms. Drake is exceptional, Michael said, his eyes never leaving Sandra. Richard smiled. Well, Ms. Drake, you've earned my $20 million. Let's draft the contract. As the meeting ended, Sandra gathered her things quickly, avoiding eye contact. But as she reached for her tablet, Michael noticed it, the way she adjusted her grip to favor her right hand. He moved closer, watching as she used her left arm minimally, compensating with practiced efficiency. And then he saw it fully. The scar, running from wrist to mid-forearm, jagged, brutal, A roadmap of trauma. Michael froze. That pattern, the way it curved near her wrist, the way the skin had healed with a slight discoloration. He'd seen it before. In his nightmares. In fragmented memories of that night. Hands pulling him through a shattered window, skin tearing on glass, blood mixing with rain. That scar, he said, voice barely audible. Sandra looked up, startled. Sir? Your arm. That scar. He couldn't look away. I've seen it before. Her expression shuddered immediately. It's an old injury. Car accident. When? I don't see how that's... When, Miss Drake? Something in his tone made her hesitate. 5 years ago. June. The world tilted. June 19th, Michael whispered. Highway 47, just past midnight. Sandra's face went pale. How do you... It was you. Reed Industries, parking lot, 7:34 p.m. The sky had been threatening rain all afternoon. By the time Sandra left the building, it had made good on that promise. Water sheeted down in thick curtains, turning the parking lot into a shallow lake. Thunder rolled across the city, angry and close. Sandra stood under the narrow awning, phone in hand, staring at the rideshare app's dreaded message. No drivers available in your area. She checked the bus schedule. The last Route 7 had left 12 minutes ago. The next wouldn't come until morning. Perfect. She could wait it out. The rain would ease eventually. It always did, except the forecast on her phone showed solid red for the next 3 hours. Wonderful, she muttered, pulling her jacket tighter. Headlights swept across the lot. A black Mercedes slowed, then stopped directly in front of her. The passenger window rolled down. Michael Reed looked at her through the rain. Get in. Not a question, not a request. Sandra hesitated. I'm fine, I'll catch a taxi when the rain... There are no taxis coming. The flooding has closed half the main roads. He leaned across the seat. Get in, Miss Drake. I won't ask again. Something in his voice, urgent, almost pleading, made her decision. She ran to the car and slid inside, water dripping from her jacket. The door closed, sealing them in sudden, heavy silence. Michael pulled out of the lot smoothly, windshield wipers working furiously against the downpour. The city outside became a blur of lights and shadows. Thank you, Sandra said quietly. You didn't have to. I know. More silence. Sandra watched the rain race across her window. Inside the car, the air felt thick with something unspoken. Recognition. Tension. A familiarity that shouldn't exist between a CEO and a junior employee. The meeting today, Michael said finally, with Richard Cole, that was impressive. I just read the numbers. You did more than that. You saved a $20 million deal. Anyone could have... No, he glanced at her. Not anyone. You saw what others missed. That takes intelligence and courage. Courage? Speaking up when you weren't supposed to, in a room full of people who've spent all week trying to tear you down. A pause. That takes courage. Sandra didn't know how to respond to that. They drove through flooded intersections, the car navigating expertly around the stalled vehicles and debris. Thunder cracked overhead, making Sandra flinch. You don't like storms? Michael asked. I don't mind them, usually. She watched lightning fork across the sky, but sometimes they remind me of bad nights. Bad nights, she shouldn't say more. This was her boss. This was dangerous territory. But something about the darkness, the rain, the cocoon of the car made words spill out. 5 years ago, there was a storm like this. I was driving home late from my part-time job. Her voice grew distant. I saw a car lose control, spin out, hit the guardrail and burst into flames. Michael's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Most people would have kept driving, she continued, called 911 and kept going. Told themselves it wasn't their problem. But you didn't. No. She stared at her scarred hand. I stopped, ran to the car. There was a man inside, unconscious. The door was jammed. The fire was spreading fast. Sandra, I broke the passenger window with a tire iron, pulled him through. He was heavy, dead weight. My hand got caught on the metal frame. Something snapped. The pain was... I'd never felt anything like it. Michael pulled the car to the side of the road, put it in park, turned to face her fully. But you got him out. I got him out. A bitter smile crossed her lips. Dragged him away just before the fuel tank exploded. I remember falling, the pain, someone asking if I was okay. And then, and then I left. Why? Sandra met his eyes. Because the ambulance was coming, sirens everywhere. And I knew if I stayed, they'd take me to the hospital. I'd get bills I couldn't pay, questions I couldn't answer. I had my mother to think about, her medications, our rent. So you saved a man's life and walked away with a broken arm. Crushed, not broken, crushed. She looked away. I found out later the nerve damage was permanent. I can't lift more than 20 pounds without pain. Can't grip things properly. Sometimes my hand just stops working. The man you saved, Michael's voice was rough. Did you ever see him again? No. The word hung between them. I don't even know his name. Don't know if he survived. Don't know if he ever wondered who pulled him out. She laughed softly, without humor. Sometimes I wonder if he even remembers, or if I'm just some forgotten moment in his life while I'm stuck with this. She held up her scarred arm as a permanent reminder. Michael's jaw clenched. His eyes shone with something that looked like pain. He remembers, he said quietly. What? The man you saved. He remembers. Every day, every night. Michael reached across the center console, his fingers hovering near her scarred hand but not touching. He spent 5 years trying to find you, trying to thank you, trying to repay a debt he knows he can never truly repay. Sandra's breath caught. How would you? Because it was me. The world stopped. Rain hammered the roof. Thunder rolled. But inside the car, there was only silence and the sound of Sandra's heart pounding. That's not possible, she whispered. Highway 47, June 19th, just after midnight. Black Audi A8. His voice cracked. You pulled me through the passenger window, dragged me across broken glass. Your hand was bleeding. You were crying from the pain, but you didn't stop. No. I tried to focus on your face, to memorize it, but I passed out. When I woke up 3 days later, you were gone. He finally looked at her, and his eyes were wet. I've been searching for you ever since, Sandra. 5 years, and you've been right here. You walked into my elevator, and I didn't even recognize you. Sandra couldn't breathe. You're Michael Reed. You built an empire. I'm the man who owes you his life. And I'm the man who let you walk away broken and alone because I was too unconscious to stop you. It wasn't your fault. It was. His hand finally touched hers gently, reverently. You saved me and I gave you nothing but pain and debt and a ruined hand. You didn't know. That doesn't make it right. They sat there in the rain-battered car, their hands touching, years of searching and suffering finally colliding into this one impossible moment. Sandra's apartment, 9:17 p.m. Michael insisted on walking her to her door despite her protests. They stood in the narrow hallway, dripping water on worn carpet. Sandra, he said, this changes everything. You understand that? I don't understand anything right now. Then understand this. I'm going to fix what I broke. Your medical bills, your mother's treatment, everything. I don't want your money. It's not about what you want. It's about what you're owed. His voice softened. Please, let me do this. It's the least I can do. She stared at him, overwhelmed. I need time to think. Take all the time you need, but Sandra, he hesitated. Be careful at work. Chloe, Donna, they're dangerous. Why do you say that? Because I'm starting to realize nothing about the last 5 years has been what it seemed. He left her standing in the hallway, questions swirling. Michael's penthouse, 11:43 p.m. Michael stood at his window, unable to even pretend sleep would come. On his phone, he stared at Sandra's employee photo. Professional, reserved, beautiful in a way he'd somehow missed before. How had he not seen it? The eyes that haunted his memories. The determination that had pulled him from fire. She'd been right there, all this time. His office door opened. Chloe stepped inside, wrapped in a silk robe, her expression calculated. Michael, we need to talk. Not now. It's about her. Sandra. Chloe moved closer. You're obsessed with her. Everyone sees it. Get out, Chloe. Why her? Her voice rose. What is it about that girl? What does she have that I don't? Michael turned slowly, his eyes cold. The truth. Chloe went pale. Get out, he repeated. Before I have security, remove you. She left, but Michael saw the panic in her eyes. She knew. Somehow she knew everything was unraveling. He looked back at Sandra's photo, tracing the outline of her face on the screen. You found me again, he whispered. After 5 years, you found me again. And this time I'm not letting you go. Donna's office, 8:47 a.m. Chloe paced like a caged animal, her designer heels clicking against marble with violent precision. She knows, or he knows, or they both know. She turned to Donna. Did you see the way he looked at her yesterday? Like she's something precious, something sacred. Donna leaned back in her chair, perfectly composed. Then we accelerate the plan. We've tried everything. She won't break. Because we've been too subtle. Donna smiled coldly. We need something public, something humiliating, something that makes Michael see her for what she really is. And what's that? A gold digger, a manipulator. Donna pulled out her phone. Preston Hale is coming in today for the quarterly review. Rich, handsome, notoriously inappropriate with female staff. Michael hates him. Exactly. But Hale has 20 million in active investments. Michael won't make a scene. Donna's smile widened, unless he's given no choice. Chloe stopped pacing. What are you suggesting? We put Sandra in Preston's path. Let nature take its course. Preston flirts, Sandra encourages him, or appears to, and Michael sees her for the social climber she is. And if that doesn't work, then we have backup. Donna opened her desk drawer, revealing a small velvet box. Inside, a diamond bracelet glittered. The Quinn collection, worth 40,000. I'll plant it in her desk during the chaos. Security finds it. She's arrested for theft. You'd destroy her completely. I'd protect what's mine. Donna's eyes hardened. This company, my position, everything I've built. I won't let some nobody with a sob story take it away. Chloe stared at the bracelet, then nodded slowly. Do it. Conference room B, 2:15 p.m. The quarterly review meeting dragged on, financial projections blurring together in endless PowerPoint slides. Sandra sat near the back, taking notes, trying to remain invisible. Preston Hale sat 3 seats away, legs stretched out, bored expression barely concealed. He was everything Michael wasn't. Flashy suit, too white smile, wandering eyes that assessed every woman in the room like merchandise. When the meeting broke for coffee, Sandra gathered her materials quickly. Leaving so soon? Preston appeared beside her, blocking her path. Up close, his cologne was overwhelming. I need to file these reports, Mr. Hale. Preston, please. He leaned against the table, invading her space. And the reports can wait. I'd much rather hear about you. Sandra, isn't it? Drake. Sandra Drake. Beautiful name, almost as beautiful as... Excuse me. She tried to move past him. His hand caught her wrist. Come on, don't be cold. I'm just being friendly. In fact, I'm having dinner at Marquis tonight. Prime table, the best wine. Why don't you join me? I can't. I have... Can't or won't. His grip tightened slightly. Because I promise, sweetheart, I can make it very worth your while. I'm a generous man when properly motivated. Sandra pulled her arm back. I'm not interested. Playing hard to get? I like that. He reached for her again, this time touching her shoulder, sliding his hand down toward her injured arm. You know, I have connections. Could open doors for a smart girl like you. Mr. Hale. The voice was ice wrapped in razors. Preston turned. Michael stood 5 feet away, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop 20 degrees. Reed didn't see you there. Clearly, Michael's eyes locked on Preston's hand, still touching Sandra's arm. Remove your hand. We were just talking. Remove your hand. Something in Michael's tone made Preston's confidence falter. He lifted his hand slowly. If you value the use of your hands, Michael continued, voice deadly quiet, you'll keep them to yourself. If you value your investments, you'll apologize to Ms. Drake. And if you value your position at this company, you'll never speak to her again. Preston laughed nervously. Come on, Reed, I was just being friendly. Michael moved forward, not fast, not aggressive, but with such controlled fury that Preston stumbled backward. Friendly? Michael's jaw clenched. You cornered an employee, made unwanted advances, touched her without consent. That's not friendly, Hale. That's harassment, and I have zero tolerance for it. Jesus, Reed, when did you become such a what? Say it. I dare you. The conference room had gone completely silent. Every employee pressed against the glass walls watching. Preston raised his hands in surrender. Fine, Christ. I apologize, Ms. Drake. Didn't mean any offense. He tried to leave. Michael blocked his path. Effective immediately, your portfolio is being reassigned. You'll deal with Samuel Young from now on. If I see you on this floor again, security will escort you out. You can't be serious. You try me. Preston's face flushed red. He looked at Sandra, then at Michael, and something ugly crossed his expression. Oh, I see how it is now. She's yours. Should have mentioned that up front, Reed. Get out. Everyone always wondered why you were so protective of her. Now we know. Preston smiled nastily. The big bad CEO's got himself a... Michael's fist connected with Preston's jaw. The sound echoed through the glass room. Preston hit the floor, blood trickling from his split lip. Say another word about her, Michael said quietly, and I'll make sure you never work in this industry again. He turned to Sandra. Are you all right? She nodded, too shocked to speak. Michael looked at the assembled crowd. Meeting's over. Everyone out. They scattered. Office floor said 3:42 p.m. Did you see that? The CEO just punched an investor. For her. Oh my God, they're definitely sleeping together. Has to be. No other explanation. Did you see his face? He looked ready to kill Hale. Poor Chloe, everyone mustn't thought they were getting engaged. Forget Chloe. Sandra's been here 3 weeks, and she's got the CEO fighting over her. The whispers spread like wildfire. By 4 p.m., the entire company knew. By 5, it had reached the executive floor. Samuel found Michael in his office, staring out the window. Sir, the board is calling. They want an explanation for the Preston Hale incident. Tell them the truth. He harassed an employee. I intervened. They're suggesting you were personally motivated. I was. Samuel blinked. Sir, that's not a denial. I know. The rumors, let them talk. Michael turned. I'm done pretending, Samuel. Done hiding. Sandra Drake saved my life 5 years ago. She's the woman I've been searching for. And I'm not going to stand by while people like Preston Hale treat her like she's disposable. And Chloe? Michael's expression hardened. Schedule a meeting with legal. I want every document she's ever provided reviewed. Every claim verified. Everything. Yes, sir. Chloe's apartment, 8:23 p.m. Chloe stood in her kitchen, wine glass trembling in her hand, watching the news footage someone had leaked to social media. Michael punching Preston, Michael defending Sandra, Michael looking at Sandra like she was the only person in the world. Her phone buzzed. A text from Donna. Plan B tomorrow night. The gala. Another text. He'll regret choosing her. Chloe looked at her reflection in the dark window. 5 years of carefully crafted lies. 5 years of pretending to be someone she wasn't. 5 years of waiting for Michael to love her the way he should have. All destroyed by some nobody with a scar. No, she whispered. He's mine. He promised me everything. She pulled up her contacts, found a number she'd hoped she'd never have to use. It's me, she said when it answered. I need a favor. A big one. How big? Big enough to destroy 2 people. Her reflection smiled back at her. Cold, calculating, dangerous. The gala tomorrow night. I'm going to expose Michael Reed's precious savior for what she really is. And what's that? A thief, a fraud. And when I'm done with her, she'll wish she'd never pulled anyone from that fire. She ended the call and poured another glass of wine. Tomorrow night, everything would change. Tomorrow night, Sandra Drake would finally pay for being exactly what Chloe could never be. Real. The Grand Ballroom, Imperial Hotel, 7:45 p.m. The annual Reed Industries Gala was a spectacle of wealth and power. Crystal chandeliers cast golden light across marble floors. Women in designer gowns mingled with men in bespoke suits. Champagne flowed freely. Laughter echoed off vaulted ceilings. Sandra stood near the back, feeling profoundly out of place. Her dress was borrowed, a simple black cocktail dress from a colleague who'd taken pity on her. Nothing like the couture surrounding her. She'd been required to attend. All staff had. But being here and belonging here were entirely different things. Well, look who showed up. Donna appeared beside her, resplendent in emerald silk. Surprised you had the courage to come after the Preston Hale incident. I was required to attend. Of course. Donna's smile was poison. Though I'm surprised Michael hasn't whisked you away yet. You two seem so close these days. Sandra ignored her, scanning the room for an exit. Across the ballroom, Chloe stood in a circle of investors, wearing a diamond-encrusted gown that probably cost more than Sandra's annual salary. She caught Sandra's eye and smiled, sharp, predatory. Something cold slithered down Sandra's spine. "Excuse me," as she muttered, heading toward the restroom. She needed air, space, away from the stares and whispers that had followed her all week. The bathroom was empty, thankfully. Sandra splashed cold water on her face, careful not to ruin her minimal makeup. Just survive tonight. Then you never have to do this again. When she returned to the ballroom, her small clutch purse felt heavier. She frowned, opening it. Inside, nestled among her keys and phone, sat a ring. Not just any ring. A massive diamond surrounded by smaller stones, set in platinum. The kind of ring that belonged in a vault, not a borrowed clutch. Sandra's blood turned to ice. "No," she whispered. No. "Stop that woman!" The voice boomed across the ballroom. Conversations died. Music stopped. Security guards rushed towards Sandra. "Check her bag," Donna's voice rang out. "The Queen's vanity is missing from the display case." Sandra looked up. A glass case near the stage stood open, empty. A placard read, "The Queen's vanity, valued at $500,000, donated by Chloe Monroe for tonight's charity auction." Her heart stopped. "I didn't," she started. "Search her!" Chloe pushed through the crowd, face arranged in perfect shock. "My ring, it's priceless." A security guard grabbed Sandra's clutch, pulled out the ring. The crowd gasped. "Oh my God! She stole it! Right from the display! I knew something was off about her." "I didn't take it," Sandra said, voice shaking. "I don't know how it got there." "Don't lie!" Donna stepped forward. "Everyone saw you lingering near the display case. I wasn't. Security footage will show the truth." Chloe's voice dripped with false sympathy. "I'm so sorry, Sandra. I know things have been difficult for you. The medical bills, your mother's illness. But stealing?" Cameras flashed. Phones appeared, recording everything. Sandra's vision blurred. This couldn't be happening. "I think we should call the police," someone said. "Absolutely. Theft of this magnitude. She should be arrested." "Wait." The voice cut through the chaos like a blade. The crowd parted. Michael Reed walked forward, tuxedo perfect, expression unreadable. Samuel followed close behind, tablet in hand. "Mr. Reed," Chloe started, "I'm so sorry you have to see this. Your employee has what, Chloe?" The temperature dropped. "Stolen my ring, the Queen's vanity. It was in her bag." "Your ring?" Michael stopped in front of Sandra, his body between her and the crowd. "That's interesting, because that ring doesn't belong to you." Chloe blinked. "What?" "The Queen's vanity was purchased at an international auction 3 weeks ago. The buyer was anonymous." Michael turned to face the crowd. "The buyer was me." Confused murmurs rippled through the guest. "I don't understand," Donna said carefully. "If you bought it, why would it be in Sandra's bag?" "Because I gave it to her." The ballroom went silent. "You gave it to her?" Chloe's voice cracked. "Why would you give a junior employee a $500,000 ring?" Michael reached into his jacket, pulled out a small box, opened it, Inside, a matching wedding band glittered. Because she's not just an employee. He turned to Sandra, his eyes holding hers, asking for trust, for forgiveness, for permission. Please, his expression said, trust me. Sandra's heart hammered. She didn't understand, but something in his eyes made her nod, almost imperceptibly. Michael took her hand gently. Ladies and gentlemen, he said, his voice carrying across the stunned ballroom, I'd like to formally introduce Sandra Drake. He held up their joined hands. My wife. The world exploded. Gasps, shouts, camera flashes like lightning. What? His wife? Since when? Oh my God. Chloe's face went bone white. No, that's not possible. Michael, you're lying. Am I? He didn't look at her. His eyes stayed on Sandra. We've kept it private for obvious reasons, but I'm done hiding, done letting people treat my wife like she's disposable. You're married? Donna's voice was strangled. To her? For several weeks now. The lie came smoothly. The ring was a gift, an anniversary present. Sandra was simply keeping it in her bag for safekeeping during the event. But the display case, Chloe stammered, was staged by me, with a replica. Samuel stepped forward, tablet extended. The real Queen's vanity is in the company vault. The ring in Ms. Drake's, Mrs. Reed's possession is her personal property. Here's the documentation. He showed the screen to the nearest guests. Official-looking paperwork, purchase receipts, all backdated perfectly. Chloe's legs wobbled. This is insane. You can't... Can't what? Michael finally turned to her, and his expression was arctic. Can't marry who I choose? Can't give gifts to my own wife? Can't protect her from people who've spent weeks trying to destroy her? Michael, please. Chloe reached for him. Don't. He stepped back. Security, please escort Ms. Monroe out. She's no longer welcome at Reed Industries events. You can't do this. Chloe's composure shattered. I'm the one who saved you. I'm the one you owe everything to. You promised lies. Michael's voice was cold. And I'm done believing them. Security moved in. Chloe fought, screaming as they pulled her toward the exit. She's nothing. I'm the one you need. Michael! The doors closed behind her, muffling her shrieks. The ballroom remained frozen. Michael turned back to Sandra, who stood trembling, face pale with shock. I'm sorry, he said quietly, meant only for her. I know this isn't what you wanted, but it was the only way to protect you. Protect me? Her voice was barely audible. By telling everyone we're married? Yes. But we're not. I know. His hand tightened on hers. But they don't, and now they can't touch you. Chloe can't frame you. Donna can't fire you. No one can hurt you. Because you're under my protection now. Sandra stared at him. Is that all this is? Protection? Something flickered in his eyes. Something deeper. For now, he said, if that's all you want it to be. The crowd began to surge forward, questions erupting. Mr. Reed, when did this happen? How long have you been... Does the board know? Michael raised a hand. My personal life remains personal. This announcement changes nothing about Reed Industries' operations. The gala will continue. Enjoy your evening. He led Sandra toward a side exit, away from the cameras and chaos. Behind them, the ballroom erupted in speculation. And somewhere in the parking lot, Chloe sat in her car, mascara running, phone pressed to her ear. It's not over, she hissed. He thinks he's won? He thinks he can humiliate me like this? Her contact's voice crackled through the speaker. What do you want me to do? Destroy them both. I want proof that their marriage is fake. I want Sandra Drake exposed as the fraud she is. And I want Michael Reed to regret the day he ever let that girl touch him. That'll cost you. I don't care what it costs. Chloe's eyes blazed with fury. Burn it all down. The morning after 7:23 a.m., Sandra's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. She sat on her apartment floor, still in last night's borrowed dress, staring at headlines that scrolled past like accusations. CEO Michael Reed's secret wife revealed. Billionaire's hidden marriage shocks industry. From elevator scandal to altar, the Sandra Drake story. Her mother's voice from the bedroom. Sandra? Sweetheart, what's going on? Why are there reporters outside? Sandra closed her eyes. How did she explain this? How did she explain that she wasn't actually married, but the entire world thought she was? Her phone rang. Michael's name flashed on the screen. "Don't leave your apartment," he said immediately. "I have security posted outside. They'll keep the press away." "Michael, this is insane." "I know, I'm sorry, but you're safe. That's what matters." "Safe from what? We're not actually married. This is a lie. When the truth comes out, it won't. Not if you don't want it to." A pause. "Sandra, I meant what I said last night. I'm done letting people hurt you. Whatever you decide about us, about this situation, I'll support it. But right now, you're protected. Please trust me." Before she could respond, shouting erupted from his end of the line. "Michael Reed!" A crash, glass shattering. "Sandra, I have to go." The line went dead. Reed Industries, CEO's office, 7:47 a.m. Chloe Monroe exploded through Michael's office doors like a hurricane made of rage and designer perfume. "You bastard!" She hurled a crystal paperweight. Michael dodged. It shattered against the window behind him. "Security." Samuel moved forward. "Let her speak," Michael said calmly, adjusting his tie. "She's earned that much." "Earned?" Chloe's voice cracked. "I spent 5 years playing your savior. 5 years pretending to be someone I'm not. And for what? So you could marry some pathetic intern?" "She's not an intern. She's nothing." Chloe's makeup ran with angry tears. You promised that when you found the woman who saved you, you'd marry her. You'd give her everything. You promised me." Michael stepped closer. "I did promise that. Then why? And I kept my promise." His voice was steel. "I found the woman who saved me, and I married her." Chloe froze. No, that was me. I showed you the records, the hospital, everything. You showed me forgeries." Samuel stepped forward, tablet extended. Medical records from St. Catherine's Hospital, June 19th, 5 years ago, 11:52 p.m. Admission. He turned the screen toward Chloe. "Sandra Drake, crush injury to left forearm. Severe nerve damage, lacerations consistent with broken glass." The attending physician noted she refused sedation until after giving a statement to police about pulling someone from a burning vehicle. "Those could be fake." Time-stamped photos from the accident scene. Samuel swiped. Images appeared. A young woman with dark hair, bloodied arms standing beside paramedics. Face partially visible. Unmistakably, Sandra. Witness statements. Security footage from the hospital showing her walking out against medical advice at 3:17 a.m. Chloe's face drained of color. "Meanwhile," Samuel continued, "your medical records show an ulnar nerve decompression surgery performed 6 months before the accident. Elective triage. Scheduled. The injury you claimed was from saving Michael. Never existed." "That's not—" "We also tracked the $50,000 payment you received 2 weeks before you approached Michael." Samuel's voice was clinical. "From an offshore account registered to Donna Brooks's husband. You were paid to impersonate his savior. Paid to lie." Chloe's legs gave out. She collapsed into a chair. "Why?" Michael's voice was soft but cutting. "Why would you do this?" "Because I loved you," she whispered. "And I knew if I could just get close to you, if you could see me, you'd love me back. You built our entire relationship on a lie." "I built it on what you needed to believe." Her voice rose again. "You were obsessed with finding her. Mourning someone you met for 5 minutes. I gave you closure. I gave you peace. You gave me nothing but poison." Chloe stood, shaking. "This isn't over. You think you can just expose me? Humiliate me? I'll destroy you both. Her medical records, her debts, her sick mother. I'll make sure everyone knows she married you for money." "Actually," Samuel said, "you won't, because you're being arrested." The office doors opened. 2 police officers entered. "Chloe Monroe?" The lead officer stepped forward. "You're under arrest for fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy to commit assault." "Assault?" Chloe laughed hysterically. "I never touched her." "Not yet." Michael's phone buzzed. He checked it, and his face went white. "But you hired people who will." He ran. Warehouse District, 8:34 p.m. Sandra had ignored Michael's warning. Her mother needed medication. The pharmacy was 6 blocks away. She'd been careful, taken side streets, avoided the main roads where press might linger. But she hadn't expected the van. It pulled up fast. 3 men got out. Large, professional, wrong. Sandra Drake? She ran. They were faster. Hands grabbed her. She screamed. Her injured arm was wrenched backward. Pain exploded white hot. Nothing personal, lady. Just a job. Let go, duh. Should have stayed away from Michael Reed. A fist rose. Get away from her! Michael appeared from nowhere, launching himself at the nearest man. They went down hard. Michael swung with precision, jaw in his throat, years of boxing training evident in every movement. That's my wife! Another attacker came at him. Michael ducked, drove his shoulder into the man's stomach, sent him crashing into the van. The third man grabbed Sandra again. Michael saw red. He crossed the distance in 3 strides, grabbed the man by his collar, and slammed him against the brick wall. If you ever, Michael's voice was barely human, come near her again, I'll make sure you spend the rest of your miserable life in a cell. Sirens wailed. Police cars screeched to a halt. Samuel emerged from one, phone still in hand. I traced the payment order, $50,000, from Chloe Monroe's account. Sent 2 hours ago with the message, make her disappear. The police moved in, cuffing the attackers. Michael turned to Sandra, who stood trembling against the wall. Are you hurt? She shook her head, but tears streamed down her face. I'm sorry, he said, voice breaking. I'm so sorry. I should have protected you better. Should have seen this coming. It was you. Her voice was barely audible. 5 years ago, the fire, the car, you were the man I pulled out. Yes, and you. You've been searching for me. Every day. He reached for her hand carefully, reverently. I woke up in that hospital, and all I could remember was your face, your eyes, the way you wouldn't leave me even though you were bleeding, even though you were in pain. I didn't know who you were. I know, and I didn't recognize you when you walked into my elevator. But every instinct in my body knew something was different. Something was right. His thumb traced the scar on her hand. This scar, it's from pulling me through broken glass. Your arm was crushed because you wouldn't let me go. And I've spent 5 years trying to find the woman brave enough to save a stranger. Sandra's legs gave out. Michael caught her, holding her as she finally broke. You came back, she whispered into his chest. I never stopped searching. Police led the attackers away. Samuel coordinated with officers. The city hummed around them. But in that moment, in that alley, there was only Sandra and Michael, and 5 years of searching finally coming to an end. What happens now? She asked. Michael pulled back slightly, meeting her eyes. Now, he smiled softly. Now I spend the rest of my life repaying a debt I can never truly repay, if you'll let me. And the marriage can be as real or as fake as you want it to be. His voice was gentle. But Sandra, I want you to know, last night, when I called you my wife, it wasn't just for show. It was the first honest thing I've said in 5 years. She stared at him, searching his face. I don't know what I want yet, she said finally. Then take all the time you need. He tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. I've waited 5 years. I can wait longer. But not too long, she said, the ghost of a smile crossing her lips. Not too long, he agreed. 6 weeks later, Reed Industries, Grand Atrium. The banner stretched across the marble lobby in elegant script. Second Chances Foundation, supporting burn victims and emergency heroes. Sandra stood at the podium, hands trembling slightly as 200 faces watched her. Employees, investors, media, people who 6 weeks ago had whispered that she was a thief, a social climber, a scandal. Now they listened. 5 years ago, she began, voice steady despite her nerves. I made a choice that changed my life. I stopped at an accident scene when I could have driven past. I pulled a stranger from a burning car when I could have waited for professionals. And I walked away with injuries that I'm still learning to live with. She held up her scarred hand. This scar used to feel like a punishment. a permanent reminder of what I'd lost, my strength, my independence, my future. But I've learned something important these past weeks. She looked directly at Michael, standing at the back of the room. Scars aren't punishments. They're proof. Proof that we survived. Proof that we chose courage over comfort. Proof that some things are worth the pain. Applause rippled through the crowd. The Second Chances Foundation will provide medical care, rehabilitation, and financial support to burn victims and the everyday heroes who risk everything to save others. Because no one should have to choose between doing the right thing and paying their bills. The applause grew louder. Marcus, the junior analyst who'd once tried to help her carry water, stood up. Then another colleague, then another. Soon the entire atrium was on its feet. Sandra's eyes stung with tears she refused to let fall. When the presentation ended, people swarmed her. Not with gossip or cruelty, but with genuine praise. That was beautiful, Mrs. Reed. The foundation is such an important cause. Thank you for sharing your story. Mrs. Reed, the title still felt strange, but less so each day. Donna Brooks was notably absent, currently awaiting trial alongside Chloe for fraud and conspiracy. Her position had been filled by Marcus, who'd proven himself far more competent and infinitely kinder. Executive floor, 6:47 p.m. Sandra found Michael in his office, tie loosened, looking over the foundation paperwork. "You were incredible today," he said without looking up. I was terrified. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting despite it. He finally met her eyes. "You taught me that." She moved closer, perching on the edge of his desk. "How's the investigation going?" "Almost complete. Chloe's trial starts next month. Donna's lawyer is pushing for a plea deal." Michael's expression hardened. "They won't touch you again. I've made sure of it." "I know." Sandra reached for his hand. "You don't have to keep protecting me, you know. I'm stronger than I look." "I know you are." His thumb traced her scar gently. "But that doesn't mean you have to be strong alone anymore." The moment stretched between them, comfortable, warm, real. Their relationship had evolved slowly over the past weeks. Careful, respectful. Michael had moved her and her mother into a safer apartment, but respected Sandra's insistence on paying what she could. He'd cleared her medical debts, but let her maintain her independence. He'd introduced her as his wife, but never pressured her to make it more than protection. Until 3 nights ago, when she'd kissed him first. "My mother wants to meet you," Sandra said. "Properly, I mean, not just brief hellos." "I'd like that." "She might interrogate you." "Fair warning." "I survived Chloe Monroe. I think I can handle Mary Drake." Sandra laughed. "You have no idea what you're in for." Sandra's apartment, 8:23 p.m. Mary Drake sat in her favorite armchair, healthier than she'd been in years thanks to the treatment Michael had quietly arranged. Her eyes, sharp and assessing, studied Michael like a puzzle she intended to solve. "So," Mary said, sipping tea Sandra had nervously prepared, "you're the man from the fire." "Yes, ma'am. The man who left my daughter bleeding on the highway with a crushed arm." Michael's jaw tightened. "Yes. And now you've married her to, what, ease your guilt?" "Mom," Sandra started. "Let him answer." Michael set down his cup carefully. "Mrs. Drake, I can't change what happened 5 years ago. I can't undo your daughter's pain or the years of debt she carried because of me. But I can tell you this," he looked at Sandra. "Marrying her wasn't about guilt. It was about recognizing that fate gave me a second chance I didn't deserve. And I'm not wasting it." Mary studied him for a long moment. Then surprisingly, she smiled. "Good answer." She turned to Sandra. "I like him. He can stay." Sandra laughed, relief flooding through her. "I'm so glad I have your permission." "Don't get smart with him, young lady. I'd change your diapers." "Mom!" Michael grinned, the most relaxed Sandra had ever seen him. Reed Industries. Lobby 1 week later, 9:15 a.m. Sandra stood before the elevator, the same one she'd entered 2 months ago, terrified and desperate, carrying files too heavy for her injured hand. But it looked different now. The sleek silver doors had been etched with an elegant design, abstract flames transforming into wings. And beside the call button, a small bronze plaque read, Every mistake can be fate, every ending a beginning. Sandra traced the words with her finger. Do you like it? Michael appeared beside her, 2 coffee cups in hand. He offered her one, prepared exactly how she liked it. He'd memorized that detail weeks ago. It's beautiful, she whispered. I had it commissioned the day after the gala. He stepped closer. This elevator, this moment when you stepped inside, it wasn't a mistake, Sandra. It was fate correcting itself, bringing you back to me. I thought I was going to be fired that day. You were. His eyes sparkled with humor. Fired from being a stranger. Fired from being forgotten. He took her free hand. You weren't fired from the company that day, Sandra. You were hired. For life. Her breath caught. Michael, I know we've been taking this slow. I know we agreed the marriage could be whatever you wanted it to be, but I need you to know something. He set down his coffee, taking both her hands now. When I called you my wife that night, I wasn't acting. When I defend you, protect you, think about you every waking moment. That's not obligation. That's not debt. What is it? Love. The word hung between them, simple and devastating. I'm in love with you, Sandra Drake. Maybe I have been since the moment you pulled me from that fire. Maybe it started the day you walked into this elevator. But I know now with absolute certainty that I want to spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret saving mine. Tears spilled down Sandra's cheeks. You're sure? I've never been more sure of anything. Even though I'm stubborn and independent, and I'll probably argue with you about accepting help, especially because of all that. She laughed through her tears. I love you too. I think I have been for weeks. I was just too scared to say it. And now? Now I'm terrified, she smiled. But you taught me that courage isn't the absence of fear. Smart woman. She kissed him. The elevator behind them dinged softly. The doors slid open, empty, waiting. Michael pulled back, eyes bright. Want to ride up together? Properly this time? Together, she agreed. They stepped inside, hands intertwined. The doors began to close. Just before they sealed shut, Sandra caught sight of their reflection in the polished silver. 2 people who'd been pulled apart by fate and brought back together by the same force. Michael? Yes? Thank you for finding me. Thank you for letting yourself be found. The elevator rose, carrying them upward. Outside, the morning sun broke through clouds, casting golden light across Reed Industries. And on the 23rd floor, in an office that had once felt like enemy territory, Sandra Drake, now truly Mrs. Reed, began the next chapter of a story that had started with fire and ended with something even more powerful. Love that refused to be forgotten. Love that waited 5 years to come home. Love that proved, beyond doubt, that sometimes the biggest mistakes open the door to the greatest destinies. 1 year later, the elevator plaque had become legendary at Reed Industries. New employees were told the story, the intern who broke the biggest rule and married the CEO. It had become company folklore, inspiring countless motivational posters and at least 3 romance novels. Sandra found it embarrassing. Michael found it perfect. The Second Chances Foundation had helped over 200 burn victims in its first year. Mary Drake had fully recovered and now volunteered there 3 days a week. Chloe and Donna were serving their sentence, 2 years for fraud, additional time for conspiracy. And every morning, Sandra and Michael rode the elevator together. The one that had once symbolized everything forbidden, now representing everything they'd become. Still think you made a mistake that day? Michael asked, holding their infant daughter born 7 months ago, with her mother's determination and her father's stubborn protectiveness. The best mistake of my life, Sandra replied, pressing the button for the 23rd floor. The doors closed, and somewhere in the universe, fate smiled.